will realize that most of the time all our actions are in silos and they actually don't work in tandem. Is there any way we can look at all these things? For example, getting the information, thinking positively, thinking critically, thinking emotionally, coming up with multiple ideas. Can we do all these things in tandem, in synchronization, so that we can look at that problem from multiple perspectives at the same time? And in this context, 6 thinking hats of Bono really come handy to us. Hi, this is Sushil Mungekar. In last 20 years of my career, working as a professional in corporates or working as an entrepreneur on my own startups, and then again coming back into the education system and working on nurturing entrepreneur mindset among children, I realized one thing, that our current education system needs a definite, immediate and a constructive change. This channel is mere an opportunity to connect a parent in me with a parent in you. Most of us would agree that whatever we learned during our education system, we rarely use that in our professional careers. On the other hand, whatever we do in our professional careers, we have rarely learned that in our education system in a formal way. So this gap needs to be bridged. There are so many tools that we use during our professions which we feel, oh fish, I would have learned this kind of tools when I was a child itself, it could have been far better. That was the eureka when I really thought that can we pick up some of those tools and bring it back to students so that they start preparing themselves, their mindset well in advance, so that this can help them to be successful in any career that they take. That's the genesis of this masterclass. Welcome back to the 6th episode of my masterclass on 12 essential tools we must teach our children before they finish their schoolings. Remember our stated position, if we want our children to create value for themselves, the best way to create that value is to create value for others. In this episode, we are going to talk about problem solving, and the first tool which comes to my mind is the one which is most effective but very simple to use and yet a very powerful tool, and that's Edward de Bono's 6 thinking hats. Yes, you heard it right. We are going to talk about 6 thinking hats of Edward de Bono and how this can be powerfully used by children to nurture their mindset as effective problem solvers. Just as other episodes, we are going to break this episode as well in 4 sections. We are first going to contextualize why this kind of a tool is needed. Then we are going to talk about this tool specifically. Then in the 3rd section, we are going to talk about how this tool can be used. And in the final section, we are going to talk about benefits of using 6 thinking hats for children. So let's come to the first section and understand why this kind of a tool is necessary. Problem solving is very commonly and widely used term, and probably all schools, all education institutes are today talking about nurturing problem solvers of tomorrow. In effective way, people are doing that. But essentially, problem solving requires some kind of a framework of mind. Imagine a situation when you are going for an office and you don't get a taxi on time. That's a problem, and many of us get into that problem very frequently. Now, when we get into this problem, our reaction to this problem or a solution to this problem varies based on our perception on that particular day. If you are extremely depressed on that day, you will probably feel, let's not go to the office, let's go home. If you are feeling very negative, you'll start cursing that why every time it happens to me as well. But if you're in a positive frame of mind, you'll start looking at multiple options of still reaching to office by either calling a friend or by pulling a car or by using a public transport. On one particular day, you'll actually start getting all the information why these taxis are not coming on time. Is there a strike or is there accident happened somewhere and that's why everything is getting delayed, so on and so forth. But you will realize that most of the time all our actions are in silos and they actually don't work in tandem. Is there any way we can look at all these things? For example, getting the information, thinking positively, thinking critically, thinking emotionally, coming up with multiple ideas. Can we do all these things in tandem, in synchronization, so that we can look at that problem from multiple perspectives at the same time? And in this context, 6 thinking hats of Bono really come handy to us. Let's find out how exactly it can be used. As the name suggests, Bono's 6 thinking hats are 6 different color thinking hats which we should wear one after the other so that we can look at multiple perspectives before even we arrive at a solution of the problem. And these are white hat, red hat, blue hat, green, yellow and black. These 6 hats have different connotations. For example, white hat. White hat is basically hat of information. Collect as much information as possible about the problem, around the problem, before even attempting the solution. Many of the times we do not get adequate information about the problem and we directly jump to the conclusion, and that's where most of the time our solutions are wrong. White hat actually prevents you from doing that. Get as much information as possible is what white hat says. On the other hand, if you look at red hat thinks of emotionally about the problem. all the emotions, all the feelings, all the stuff that you feel from your heart is basically done by the red hat. Many of the times we say that this solution is come from heart, and that's what red hat plays the dominance. Then we come to a yellow and a black hat. Yellow hat looks at the problem from all positive sense. What are the positive aspects of this problem? What all things can go positively is what yellow hat thinks. Whereas black hat is completely negative, critical. All that can go wrong is actually thought by a black hat. Green hat on top of all these things is the one which is the creative hat, and it comes out with all the solutions. And finally, blue hat is the hat which is basically orchestrating, synchronization, all these things, ensuring that the processes are followed, ensuring that each hat is getting adequate importance in the final decision making. In some sense, blue hat is basically the conductor of the orchestra, or you can say a leader of all these hats as well. Now the beauty is, if you start looking at problem from all these 6 hats, you will start realizing that you are getting multiple perspective even before you actually arrive at a solution. For example, white hat brings all the information, red hat gets all the feelings, black hat gets all the negativeness about the problem or critical things, yellow hat gets all the positiveness, and green hat gets all the information or creative things about this. Now if you take this framework of 6 thinking hats to our problem of not getting taxi on time, you will realize that you will be able to solve that problem more effectively. Your solution invariably will be based on multiple perspective, multiple information points, and that will be a better solution compared to what you'll actually think from your gut. In order to use this tool with children, there are 2 important cares that we'll have to take. Number 1 is, don't bombard them with all the 6 hats at the same time. Let them prepare themselves with one hat at a time. For example, form a group of 6 people, let them wear one hat each time and rotate them. So if I have taken white hat while solving the problem, while solving the second problem, I can shift to a yellow hat and so on and so forth. And in that sense, they'll get an exposure to thinking from multiple hats together. When they sit in the group, that also helps them to take a collaborative decision and seeing the importance of each hat. And as they build over a period of time, let them handle 2 hats, 3 hats, 4 hats, and over a period of time they'll be able to think from all the 6 hats simultaneously. A second important thing is, while you're thinking from one hat perspective, do not muddle with other hats. For example, if I'm getting information, don't think emotionally. Don't use red hat while using white hat. Don't use yellow hat while using black hat. So when you are wearing that hat, make sure that you are giving full justice to that particular hat. And let them use this tool for solving simple problems that they encounter. For example, school bus not coming on time, or if they are going to a picnic and the tire of the school bus gets punctured. How do you solve that problem? Come up with multiple information. For example, a white hat can actually help them to understand that where they are landing, why the tire is getting punctured, do they have an extra tire, how much time is going to take to travel to the location, are they far, are they close. Get all that information. Is anybody staying close by so that they can go and get that information? Use the red hat to think of all the feelings, how frustrated they are feeling, or how dreadful that situation if they're actually in dark, stuck on the road kind of a thing. Then think of all positive things and negative things using yellow and a black hat. And then creative solutions. Can I pick up a phone and talk to my friend? Can I get another alternative arrangement for traveling? Can I break the group into multiple groups and so that smaller groups can go in the car? Different ideas students can come up with. Similarly, give them problems such as, if they forget notebooks quite frequently at home, how do they solve that problem? If you're going on a family holiday and one of the bags gets misplaced on the air travel itself, how do they solve this problem? Put them into this perspective, let them use these hats, and I'm sure each one of them will be able to come up with multiple perspectives of solving that problem. Let's look at using De Bono's 6 thinking hats early in life. Honestly, when I first learned about De Bono's 6 thinking hats, I was in a corporate training and I was probably 25-year-old. And that's the time I realized that I had already conditioned my mind towards problem solving. It's unidirectional, it's shallow, and it's basically superficial. When I really looked at how De Bono's 6 thinking hats operate, and it helps you to build multiple perspectives even before you actually attempt the problem solution, I realized that oh fish, I would have learned this kind of a technique far earlier in my life, then I would have conditioned my mind. And that is what we need to do with our children. Here are the benefits of learning 6 thinking hats early in life. The first is it enhances your critical thinking. You start looking at multiple perspectives, evaluate those perspectives. You also get informed decisions, which is extremely important in decision making. You know what can go wrong, and despite of those limitations, you still arrive at a decision, which is a very great learning for children at that particular age. Number 2, it enhances creative thinking. Now that you get information on plate, you understand the emotional aspect, you understand positives and negatives, it helps you to think far more creatively and far more structurally, and that is something which helps you to come up with multiple solutions. Number 3, managing failures. Even when your solution doesn't work, you exactly know what were the limitations with which you have accepted the solution. And in that case, you have already preempted the failure, and that helps you to manage that failure far better. Number 4, it helps our children in organizational skills. 6 different ways of looking at things, 6 different ways of building perspective, whether individually or whether collectively. It helps them to look at accepting multiple perspectives while solving the problem. And when you work in a group, when you work in a team, this kind of learning becomes very effective. Number 5 is decision making. Our children start taking informed decisions, and all those decisions are based on fact, and that is what makes them even more happy, even more confident while taking the decisions. So if you look at all these aspects, the benefits of this, you will realize how simple and effective and a powerful tool 6 thinking hats is. So let me summarize what we learned in this masterclass. Number 1 is 6 thinking hats is one of the most powerful, simple yet effective tool towards looking at problem solving. Number 2, 6 thinking hats help you to build multiple perspective towards problem solving even before you start thinking of a solution. Number 3, the decision making with 6 thinking hats becomes far better, effective, and also you take informed decision knowing fully well that some things can go wrong, and that also helps you in managing your failures better. Number 4, if our children start using 6 thinking hats early in life, it will not only help them to look at collaborative thinking, it also helps them to come up with a solution using structured framework and come up with multiple perspectives at the same time, take informed decision and go with a solution. And in that sense, that will really help them to be better problem solvers of the future. I hope you like this masterclass and this simple tool that I have spoken about. If you really believe that this tool is powerful and we must teach this to our children early in life, then please like, subscribe this video and pass on to your friends so that they also get benefited out of it. Next time, again, we are going to look at another powerful tool on ideation and how you can actually build ideas, how creative thinking can be done by anybody and everybody, and how this tool will really help us in terms of divergent thinking and coming up with innovative ideas. So stay tuned. Let's see in the next masterclass.